Well, Sipple, it says we're live.
Yep.
There we go. How about that? How about that?
How you doing?
Parker, Sipple, Journal Star, Lincoln Journal Star, HuskerExtra.com. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube. We're back in Oklahoma City, back in the big city, Sipple, after a jaunt down to Norman today, where we saw number 3 Oklahoma knock off Nebraska close, 23-17. We're going to give people a couple minutes to sort of filter in. You guys know the drill. Join us, put your comments in the comment section. We'll get to as many as we can in 20 minutes or so. But Sipple, in the meantime, we were sitting up there. I can't remember if it was like around halftime, somewhere right after. And you looked at me and you said, we were talking about this. We had no idea exactly what to expect in this game. And it really, that's what played out, right? I mean, that's what it looked like. It just was sort of different than what you thought it might look like.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was really interesting to me. And I think you felt somewhat the same way. I mean, I did not have a good grasp on this game for a variety of reasons. I didn't know exactly how Nebraska would handle the kind of the situation. And also, I just heard, Oklahoma's ranked 3rd, and Oklahoma has some really good recent history. Lincoln Riley's now 25-2 at home as Oklahoma's head coach. I think they're 126-11 on that field since 1999. That nobody's better on their home field in that period than Oklahoma. But I mean, I heard that Oklahoma maybe they're not worthy of a number 3 ranking, and what we've seen the last 2 weeks from Nebraska was pretty good. So I did say this, Parker. I told a couple groups this week, I'm not going to Norman. I don't think I'm going to Norman to cover a blowout.
Right. Yep.
But what I didn't think, I don't think you probably thought this either, was there was a scenario where Nebraska probably, you could make a case that they should have won the game.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
That sort of exact scenario, no, I would have guessed. I think Nebraska will go to Norman, play him close enough, and make just enough mistakes to let the big 50-pound catfish off the hook.
Yeah, that was not – yeah, right. I mean, that's not really – I don't think that's what anybody necessarily expected. Now, it's interesting because Scott Frost said he told the team before the game, if we're leading or right in it at halftime, we're going to win this thing. And it really played out that way. Now, Nebraska made some mistakes in the first half too, but it really played out that way. 7-3 at halftime. Nebraska's got the ball coming out to start the second half. And I looked at you when Nebraska was driving the ball down the field to open the third quarter and said, I think we maybe have a brewing situation here. Mm-hmm. And Nebraska was right in it until the end. But the reason why they never got over the hump and took the lead or tied the game in the second half was just because they made way too many mistakes when they got it down close. First 5 times inside the 35-yard line, they came away with 9 points total. You can't do that and beat a team like Oklahoma, regardless of whether Oklahoma is actually the 3rd best team in the country or not.
Say that stat again, please.
The first 5 times Nebraska took the ball to the Oklahoma 35 or further in, they came away with 9 points total.
Yeah, I got
that's not exactly 5 red zone trips, but it's 5 trips into scoring territory.
Yeah,
and you get 9 points total. Can't do that.
Yeah, you got to do better than that. So. Yeah, I think Nebraska fans probably have a lot of conflicting emotions, because, I'm hearing them already. It's not like I'm guessing here. You see them on social media, talk to people on the way back from the stadium, and, you hear, gosh, we're so close. We're so close to beating the number 3 team, which is I definitely understand that. I'm a little harsher critic on this, though, because a lot of the problems that you're seeing are just repetitive. The offensive line issues are just issues we see quite often, right?
Yeah.
And special teams issues are just issues we see quite often.
Yeah, it's hard when anytime there's a situation where you're talking about a potential major upset. There's always a tendency, and I think there's some rationale for appreciating a team that comes close to winning a game that nobody really thought they could win and playing in there and believing they could do it. But the flip side of that I always say this is like, if you're a team that's fixing for a big upset and you get that close, you got to just finish the job. I mean, it's deflating. It's not I don't mean deflating in the sense of like the rest of the season or anything like that. But man, when you come that close to springing a big upset on somebody, finish it off. And Nebraska had a lot of chances to do that today. Couldn't get it done. Sipple, I'm guessing there's going to be some conflicting emotions in the comments too. So let's get to as many as we can. Thank you guys all for joining us. We got a lot of comments in here already. Michael, yo, what's up? Kenneth kicks us off, and John says the same thing right behind him. What's going on with Culp? John says, and why the heck can we not get a kicker? Kenneth says.
Well, you had one last year. I mean, Culp was the Big Ten kicker of the year. Culp last year made 13 of 15 field goal tries. And I think he made all of his extra points.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you have a kicker. You just have a kicker who, I don't know, Parker, would you call it just a slump right now?
Well, he's missed 5 of his last 6 attempts on field goals. So, yeah. He's 3 of 8 now on field goals for the year. And on top of that, so he's missed 5 field goals all in the past 2 weeks. And he also missed the 2 extra points against Illinois. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Now, here's why I asked it that way, though. Is it a slump or has he just lost it? That's what I mean.
That's a good question. Frost was worried about the latter, at least in the moment today, because he went to Kellen Meyer on the extra point that then got blocked. Now, I'll be interested to hear what Mike Dawson has to say about that extra point that got blocked, because it might have come out low. That's a typical, guy first extra point try of his career. It's typical to be nervous and maybe the ball comes out a little bit low. But Isaiah Coe, who's one of Oklahoma's best defensive linemen, also just ran over Ethan Piper and got his hands up before the kick and blocked it pretty clean. So I don't know if that's operation was a little slow or it came out low, or if that was just Coe dominated a guy and made a great play.
I will tell you this, Parker. In warmups, and I told Baz this when we were watching Kellen Meyer we were watching Culp kick field goals too. And by the way, Culp drilled a 51-yarder, 50-yarder in warmups.
Yeah, and then he made a 51-yarder during the game.
Right. Culp looked good in warmups. Kellen Meyer was kicking, and I said to Baz, "Man, he kicks low. I mean, he hits a low ball." So, I mean, he might have hit it a little low.
So then, but what Frost said after the game was he went to Kellen Meyer in that moment because he said not because Connor Culp missed the second field goal, but like his second miss of the day, but because of the way he reacted to the miss. So clearly Frost was skeptical about where Connor Culp's psyche was in that moment, having missed 5 of 6. Went to Kellen Meyer, and then that turned into disaster too. It got blocked in return for a safety, so 3-point swing. And JoJo Doman, I thought, said it really succinctly after the game. He said, we spotted him 9 points and lost by 7. I mean, that is 2 missed field goals and a 3-point swing on that extra point, 9 points in the kicking game alone. But there's plenty of other missed opportunities to go around.
Now, here's a quick question before we go. Is this a coaching issue? See, I don't say this. Like, I can't put this on Frost that Culp has lost his way. How could you put that on Frost?
Yeah, no, I mean, right.
Is that a coaching issue at all is the question. I mean, I don't know. Now, that's when, I don't want to make too many excuses here for the staff. If they did, I mean, maybe there was something you could have noticed. Although he did, what Frost said today? You were there when Frost said today that Culp missed most of camp.
Yeah, with an injury, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Sipple, I'm going to read off a ream of comments for you here, and then we'll sort of get to them as a collective group. Matthew says, first things first, overall, a very impressive performance. Michael says, very proud, speak some positivity, please. Kenneth, love the fight. If we had a kicker, we win. Jason, Huskers hung with them, but I'm not going to lie, special teams made me want to eat a Tide Pod. And Sherry said, can we just start off by saying something positive?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we kind of did. Yeah, you definitely, there's a lot to feel good about here. There's a lot. Starting with your quarterback, who now has played 3, I want to say, exceptional or close to exceptional games. Adrian's playing at I'd say that maybe not a super high level, but at a high level. The defense today certainly played well enough to win, held Spencer Rattler, who some regard as the maybe perhaps the first overall choice in the coming NFL draft, to 214 passing yards, which is really, I mean, 24 for 34 for 314. Yeah, you take that. One touchdown pass, you take that. I mean, that the defense held up pretty well, or held up, I would say not pretty well. I just say the defense held up well.
Really, yeah, held up well. I mean, so 3 touchdown drives for Oklahoma was really, I mean, that was it, and pretty much anybody. I think, Sipple, the way I think about it is how many teams in the country, if you told them you're going to go to Norman, you're going to give up 23 points and 408 yards, would say, okay, I'll take my chances.
Oh, yeah. Well, we should say this.
Virtually every team in the country would say that sounds like a pretty good outing for us.
I agree, Parker. We got to say the stat. I mean, Oklahoma hadn't scored fewer than 24 points in a game since the opener of 2016.
Yeah, and they hadn't won a game scoring fewer than 24 since 2013.
Yeah, if I'm Chinander, I make sure my guys know that stat.
Yeah,
because they accomplished something pretty significant today.
Yep,
and that is something, by the way, the experts, the so-called experts like us, nobody predicted that.
No,
nobody. Everybody. What did everybody say? The narrative, including myself, was, Nebraska's, if they're going to win, they got to go score 35, 38, 40 points. Wrong.
Wrong. Yeah.
Wrong.
Yep. I said I thought that Nebraska would be the most physical defense that Oklahoma saw all year, and I also picked Oklahoma to score 40 points. So, what happened to Stepp? Jason asks. That's a good question. Marquis Stepp didn't play today. Frost just was adamant after the game that it's just a rotation based on who practices best among that running back room. And this week that was Ramir Johnson. I thought Johnson played well. He had about 80 total yards, I think, split pretty evenly, receiving and rushing. And then Gabe Ervin and Savion Morrison were the spell guys for him until Gabe Ervin got hurt. Stepp will be back in there next week, I would imagine. But they went a different direction today than they'd gone really, at any point this season so far.
Ramir Johnson practiced the best. That's what Frost continues to say. They'll go with who practices the best. What I like, I don't know, I lost you a little bit because I was looking at something, Parker. What I like about, forgive me if I'm just repeating what you just said. What I like about Ramir Johnson is the speed element.
Yeah.
He definitely gives you more speed than any of them. Morrison's pretty fast, but not. I mean, Ramir Johnson was a top grade high school sprinter in Jersey. Yeah. And now, you know what? He's starting to run tough. I am personally glad to see that kid stay in there and get this opportunity because he's the kind of kid that could have jumped in the portal.
Yep. Definitely.
Every time a kid doesn't jump in the portal and sticks with it, I want to celebrate it. A kid says, no, I'm just not going to, at the first sign of issues, I'm not just jumping into the transfer portal.
Yeah.
I love kids like Dismuke and Ramir Johnson that say, no, we're gonna keep at it.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Matthew says 2 big questions, same as after other games. What do they need to do about special teams? Yeah, I mean, today, the bottom line is you got to kick the ball through the uprights. I mean, that was a big problem today. It also was essentially, I mean, Sipple wasn't that essentially their only problem on special?
Well, let's think about it. We can drill down. They had one bad return to the 13 by Ramir.
I have a little bit more, and again, you can. I mean, that's a minus 11, I guess, 12 when you get tackled on 13 like that. I have a little bit more patience on that when you're down 14 in the fourth quarter. You're trying to make a play.
Okay.
It's not ideal, obviously, but you got to try to make something happen. I understand that. I understand trying to go for it in that situation. I mean, William Pristup punted the ball really well. They gave up one decent return out to maybe the 35. Mario Williams made a guy miss and got up the sideline a little bit. But I thought overall, I mean, the kicking was the place kicking.
Hey, William Pristup. Hit a 50-yarder and a 51-yarder. He was a revelation today.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, Pristup, I imagine, will be your punter going forward.
JJ says, hey, guys, can you explain the block on Oklahoma's opening drive? Not an illegal pick, but wouldn't that be a blindside block? Different angle, but similar to Bell's block against Wisconsin. Yeah, JJ, it's a good question. Frost said that's what he thought it was. He said he thought it was a blindside block, but he'd have to go look at it. I thought, and this is just my opinion, all I've seen is I saw one replay in the press box. I thought that Taylor Britt was facing the play. Now, it was close, but I thought Taylor Britt was facing the play when he got hit. If his head was fully turned, then yeah, it can be a blindside block. But because Taylor Britt was coming across the formation this way and the blocker came from this way, I can understand why it looked to the official like it was a head-on hit. Now, there are some other things that happened in the game that I thought were just, missed in terms of the officiating crew. But on that one, Taylor Britt was sort of running at us, like toward the press box side, and the defender was going the other way. So I didn't think it was a blindside block. It was timed up so that it wasn't early, so it would be OPI, but it was really close on that front. So I thought it was clean, but that was my look at it from a long way away.
Okay.
Sherry says, hey, we got some things to work on. Yeah, Frost said that after the game. Disappointed. Got a lot to fix, but a lot to build on. That's what he said. A lot to fix, but
I mean, excuse my cynicism, but we hear that a lot.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
This is what we're dealing with here. Yeah, Nebraska pushed Oklahoma to the limit, and there is a lot to be said for that. But I don't know. It's year 4. I mean, it's year 4. All right.
Here's the next question from Matthew Sipple. This will get to, I think, what you were about to get into. What do you do about the offensive line? Sip, are you still on they're young, there shouldn't be pressure on Greg Austin?
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever said it in those words. No, I mean, I'm not on that. Scott's got to take a really close look at that situation. You need to get more from them. Okay, so people would say, wait a second. What are you talking about? Well, here's what I'm talking about. Their running game was they rushed for 95 yards. Now that takes into account, I think, 39 yards of sack losses, 5 sacks, but 5 sacks is a problem too.
Right, and it takes into account for Adrian turning pressure into positive yardage too.
Yeah, so they rushed for 95 yards today, which is not good. And the running backs ran 21 times for 61 yards. Okay, that's not championship football. And I don't know, maybe the expectation is not championship football. I think if you talk to any player on the team, they would like to compete for a division championship, but that's not the way you win it.
And they also had 2 false start penalties before the first offensive snap of the game. 4 penalties on the first drive, 6 penalties overall. Although the one on Juergens, the on the second unnecessary roughness, I'm not sure about that, but that's another story. Good evening, gentlemen. Luke says, great to hear from you. Is this game more of just another blown chance at a win like all the others, or does a close loss show improvement, or can it be true? Yeah, Luke, this is like the question, right? I mean,
that's the essence. Yeah, that's the essence. And there's no answer. Except I will say this, and this is the beauty of the conversation, and this is the kind of the rough element of the conversation. Michigan State's playing really well, okay? Michigan State has a running back that's running well, Kenneth Walker. What do you have today, 175?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, now what Michigan State also has, and this is what everybody has to understand, is they're good up front on defense.
Yep.
And if they're not better than Oklahoma, it's close enough. Okay. Now Oklahoma has a 2nd-round pick, probably 2 2nd-round picks type guys, Winfrey and Isaiah Thomas, who are both significant factors. A couple 2nd-rounders probably, 3rd-rounders maybe, not 1st-rounders. They're not 1st-round. Winfrey's not a 1st-round player. Now, I don't know what Michigan will have in terms of NFL prospects, but Michigan State has been good up front for several years, and this is a typical Michigan State team up front on defense. Nebraska's offensive line is going to be tested in another big way. on Saturday.
Yep. Said it all year that everyone was blaming everything on Adrian Martinez, that our O-line was terrible. Kenneth said, yeah, I mean, look, there's not – you can nitpick things in Adrian's game, obviously, but he's playing great right now. I mean, I wrote this in the sort of knick-knack stuff after the game, but right now for the season through 4 games, he's averaging 10.4 yards per attempt, which is better than Spencer Rattler's averaging, or better than Spencer Rattler came into the game averaging. And also, the best mark of Adrian's career yards per pass is 7.8, and he's averaging 10.4 right now. So, I mean, he's doing that. He's making plays with his legs. He's not turning the ball over. I mean, yeah, he threw a pick today, but 4th and 17, you're going for it. You got to try to make a play. And the kid made it unbelievable, So, I mean, it's hard. That's not a bad interception, That's and they're all bad, I guess, but that wasn't a particularly, costly one. In fact, it helped Nebraska that Oklahoma took over on its 3 instead of at the 20 or whatever. So, yeah, he's playing great. And if he keeps it rolling, I mean, if Adrian keeps playing the way he's playing right now, Nebraska's going to be in a lot of games over the course of the rest of the year. Did it feel inside the stadium that Nebraska could pull the upset? Were Sooner fans shocked it wasn't a blowout? Henry, I don't know if they were shocked, but it definitely, it definitely felt like a game in the stadium in the second half. The whole
it did.
Really.
Now, the feeling that I got from the Oklahoma radio personalities that I know is that they figured this was going to be a tough game, Parker.
Yeah.
I think a lot of Oklahoma fans were concerned about this game.
Yeah. It was amazing. There was some talk, there were some people sort of idly speculating about whether Rattler would be benched.
Jeez.
I mean, I guess that's what happens when you got another 5-star Caleb Williams behind him, freshman, top player in the country for the class, Caleb Williams from DC. But even still, I mean, I was sort of like, whoa. I mean, this is the conversation if Spencer Rattler is going to get benched. Let's see here. A couple more and we'll get out of here, Sipple. Is it safe to say Nebraska could win every remaining game on its schedule, but could also lose every remaining game on its schedule?
Yeah. It depends to what extent you want to take that. I really, I guess they could lose to Columbus High if things really went south. But,
the meteor could hit tomorrow.
Right. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I like Nebraska's chances a lot better against a team like Northwestern than I would have expected. I like Nebraska's chances a lot better against a team like Purdue than I would have expected. I like Nebraska's chance in a different kind of way. How do you look at Ohio State now and say Nebraska can't play with Ohio State?
Yeah.
There's now what you're getting down to, Parker, as you know, is matchups.
Yep.
Nebraska's good. I mean, they're pretty good. So now what you want to look at is matchups. And the matchup against Michigan State's not great because of the offensive line issues Nebraska's having. And Michigan State's really good up front on defense.
Wade says exactly what we're getting at. My conflicting emotion is, can the team find 4 more wins? I'm not sure. Yeah, Wade, I mean, that's sort of – I think the lens that people look through this game with by the end of the season will be different than the way it is now, right? I mean, after this next 4 games into the bye week, at Michigan State, Northwestern, and Michigan at home, and then at Minnesota before the bye week, those 4 games, I mean – if you go 1-3 in those games, you look back at this one and say, man, how many opportunities did they blow against Oklahoma, against Illinois, against Michigan State, so on and so forth. And if they get hot and win 3 or all 4 of those games, you're going to look back on this and say, man, they really showed they could play with a good team, and then that catapulted them on into the season. So we'll have to see how that goes. All right, 2 more. Where was Step today? Harold said, yeah, he was there. He was available, just was not in the rotation. They liked what Ramiro was doing, and that they rolled that way. Let's see. How can our special team receiver be oblivious to catch and return punts and kickoffs? Yeah, Trupper, I'm not sure what you get. I mean, yeah, it was a bad decision to bring it out on the 1 by Ramiro. Time to go all – this is a good one to end on, Sipple. Anthony asks, time to go all in on Adrian and the passing game. Not saying go full air raid, but he's their best player, and the offensive line isn't good enough to ground and pound.
Well, are they good enough to protect? I mean, I don't know. No, I think you try to still proceed with the idea that you have balance. This is a tricky. The reason this is a tricky discussion, Parker, is because when you're struggling up front on offense, it creates a lot of sticky questions.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. This is the thing. This is the mesmerizing thing. Parker, they have some pretty good skill position players now.
Yep.
Frost has put some guys around Adrian.
Vokalek, okay, so the two receivers that came back today, Manning and Betts, and then the two tight ends that were back, Allen and Vokalek, 12 catches for 194 and a touchdown. And they've got Teray on top of that, and they're going to get Oliver Martin back at some point in the next couple.
These are good players. I mean, and they're starting to show it. I mean, the catch that Omar Manning made for a touchdown was an excellent play by Omar, and his other reception running out. You saw that big horse run after the catch. Austin Allen is a critical player on this team and a good one.
And you saw Vokalek's utility today too.
Yeah, and Xavier Betts I believe is coming into his own. I mean, I think Betts. What do you think on that, Parker?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's the most natural. He might be the most naturally gifted receiver, and maybe close to player on the roster.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk about pure athletic package,
he is someone. When you see him warm up, you think, well, this is the kind of guy you see at USC or Texas, or it's the kind of guy I used to see trotting in on Texas's roster.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a really, really good-looking athlete, and he's a football player. He's not. Well, he's not saying he's not.
Yeah, put it this way. I mean, based on what you saw from Oklahoma's receivers today, he'd play for Oklahoma, right?
Yeah. Oh, he's that type of athlete for sure.
Yep. All right, guys. Thank you all for being with us tonight. Great participation again. Appreciate all the questions, comments. We will be back in action we'll have more stuff up tonight, tomorrow, back in action on Monday at Memorial Stadium back in Lincoln as Nebraska gets ready to go back-to-back on the road out to Michigan State Saturday. It's a night game, 6 p.m. Central Time in East Lansing. But a long way to go between now and then. We'll have a ton of coverage. Journalstar.com/Huskers, HuskerExtra.com for Sipple. I'm Parker. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.